It's Ashley from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and today I'm going to show you how to make this 2-tiered buttercream cake with some fondant detailing. Now today I am using a 4-inch and 6-inch chocolate cake. Whenever I'm making a 2-tiered cake, but it doesn't really need to serve that many people, I really like using these sizes. If you're just starting out with tiering cakes as well, it's a great size to work with because it's really not going to be too hard to stack. I'm crumb coating my cakes as usual, and as you saw there, I didn't slice off any of the tops of my cakes. I want to maintain as much height as possible. So don't fret if your cakes don't bake perfectly, you can always cover it up with some buttercream. If you want to know how I fix imperfectly baked cakes with buttercream, go ahead and check out that video in the right-hand corner. Today I'm using my favorite Italian meringue buttercream, but if you want to use American buttercream, then this is going to work just fine as well. You can also use Swiss meringue buttercream too. I actually wanted to do a bit thicker of a crumb coat, but I ran out of buttercream, so I placed that in the fridge for a few minutes while I whipped up another batch. Be sure to clean off your board, especially if you know nothing is actually going to be covering that portion. I like to take my spatula and just kind of run it along the edge there. If I really can't get everything off, I'll use a paper towel as well. Some of you have mentioned in past that you can't get your colorings right for Italian meringue buttercream. I just use the regular AmeriColor food gel. Sometimes I also use Chef Master and it mixes in just fine. Now you'll notice I'm haphazardly putting on all of these lines. It's not going to be a perfectly striped buttercream. I just want this to look like a bunch of different colors of buttercream that don't look too perfect but also aren't too marbled either, which is why I went with the stripe direction. The key to getting this right without having everything mixed together too much is make sure that you apply enough, which is why I did apply it with a piping bag. This just ensures that it is thick enough so when I do the swipe, not all of it will come off, and I won't have to keep swiping to the point where all of the colors mesh together. I was asked to make this cake super girly and fun, so I'm going to do a huge mix of sprinkles here. To avoid waste, make sure you don't mix up too many sprinkles because it is hard to use the same sprinkle mix over and over for different things. If you're using an American buttercream, you do need to do this before you place it in the fridge at all, or else it'll crust over too much and the sprinkles will not stick anymore. For Italian and Swiss meringue buttercream, it's a lot more forgiving and it stays sticky-ish. So you can do this a little bit afterwards, but I do suggest if you want full coverage that you do it as soon as you can. Anytime I'm stacking buttercream cakes, if I have the luxury of time, I like to keep these in the fridge overnight. That way it's a lot easier to stack. So I have a little 4-inch cake board there, which is going to fit perfectly on the bottom of my cake. I've mentioned this before that for the most even stacking, you want to make sure that you actually purchase cake boards that perfectly fit. I just find it really difficult to punch out a perfect circle. And if it's not a perfect circle, I find that there can be room then for uneven stacking, and then you're going to get unevenness when you look at the cake as a whole. You'll notice I put down some bubble tea straws for support. You really don't need too many. This is just a 4-inch, but you do need some. And then I put a dowel straight down the center so that if that is being transported, it's not going to move. Just be fearless when picking up the cake and try to do it as quickly as possible, especially with buttercream. Now I'm going to work on those little swoops on top, and in order to make that swirly buttercream, I am piping different lines alternating between white and this kind of pinkish purple color. The reason that we do it this way is so that it's not going to get all muddied up. We're really going to see all of those different colors that we would like, all 2 in this instance. Now I'm going to roll it up, and then I'm going to take that whole roll and I'm going to put it directly into my piping bag. No need to freeze this or anything beforehand because if you do, it's not going to pipe out properly. And then I'm just going to squeeze with my 1M tip on there, and I'm going to create my little swoops. Everyone has a little bit of a different style when doing this. I like to just kind of make little mini circles in a counterclockwise direction, and then when I lift off, I just stop squeezing the piping bag. I have a lot of that sprinkle mix, so I'm going to put it wherever I see fit. So a little bit on top here, and then I'm also going to fill in the gap that board creates. Now, if you don't want a gap at all, you can carve out a portion of the cake so that it sits a little bit more inlay into your cake. I prefer to do it this way instead since I'm going to be putting on a lot of things. Now let's get started on the unicorn. Now really for the unicorn, all I'm using a little bit of Tylose powder, mixing it in with some white fondant. I rarely have gum paste on hand, which dries a little bit faster than fondant. So adding this Tylose powder ensures that things just dry a little bit faster. Now, the reason that we need this to dry faster is because the worst thing to happen with fondant characters is having that body kind of shrivel down from the weight of the head. We want to make sure that we have that body nice and stiff before we put the head on so that nothing ends up wrinkling. I always refer to this style of body as my teddy bear body because really it mimics that of a teddy bear. It just has a little bit of longer limbs. Make sure that whatever fondant character you're making, you always put some sort of dowel through it or some sort of support that is going to adhere that to the cake. And here's a little clip from when I spilled the water everywhere as I was trying to attach those unicorn body parts. After everything is attached, I'm going to create the face, and I really just did that by creating a long string of black fondant and placing that on. Using a small star tip, I'm just going to fill in all of the hair by creating little mini rosettes. And the way that you create those rosettes is you start from the center and then you work your way around. Make sure that you don't swoop it the other way because then you'll end up with a peak in the center. So you do want to start from the center and work your way to the outside. Now I'm just going ahead and adding on all of those other little buttercream details, adding some roses all over the cake wherever I see fit, adding on a little bit of these flowers, and I have made those type of fondant roses many times on my channel. Go ahead and check out that video in the right hand corner if you want to know how I do it. Now I did make these macarons yesterday where I airbrushed them, and I airbrushed these paws on them specifically for this cake. Whenever I have different ideas that want to come together that maybe don't fit super well, I try to incorporate them in a more abstract way so everything looks a little bit more cohesive. In this instance, I was told that she likes unicorns and different animals, so I put these little paw prints on there in order to indicate that I did acknowledge those different animals. Then to tie in that gold on the unicorn horn, I am going to add little bits of gold everywhere here and there, but not too much. I think I also add on some gold leaf here as well because why wouldn't I add on gold leaf? Now I'm just going to airbrush a little bit of gold into the center of that rose. Everybody is always asking me what is my favorite cake, and I've had lots of different ones over the years, but this one definitely rates in my top 3 favorite cakes that I've made. Although I love the look of fondant covered cakes, I just love that this is a buttercream cake and I love the colors. Now let's get into the pricing. On my Instagram story, I did ask you guys what you would price this cake at, and I will share those results later on. But I would charge $400 for this cake. It has a lot of detail on there and a lot of different things going on, but we have to remember it is only a 6 and 4 inch cake. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading weekly, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys. Bye!